Guyana and Suriname are working closer to tackle transnational crimes such as arms smuggling and trafficking in narcotics, trafficking in persons, and piracy. This development follows a meeting between a delegation led by the Home Affairs Minister Clement Roy that included head of the Guyana Defence Force Rear Admiral Gary Best, Commissioner of Police Leroy Brummel, and head of the Guyana Revenue Authority Koshit Satar, and top security agents from Suriname. The presidential agreement is dubbed the Jagdeo Bautisé Initiative and was some 2.5 years in the making. Today, Roy brought out the top brass of the security agencies to speak to the media on the agreement, which he feels will benefit both countries.
We started out by exchanging views on the efficacy of this presidential engagement and the benefits that flows to both countries and the institutions that are part of the engagement on both sides.
Chief of Staff Gary Best said there has been an increase in energy and a renewed determination to work together. He said the political philosophy is to maximize our similarities and minimize our deficiencies.
So we have a little bit more work to do indeed in terms of who arrests who. But I said at the simple level, if it's a Guyanese that is arrested, then you should take him to the Guyanese show for prosecution, the Suriname to take him to the Suriname side of prosecution. That is at the simple level. And the modalities of that will be voted by the two attorney generals.
That said, however, one of the stumbling blocks is for the technical people on both sides to work out aspects of the agreement, which will allow for both the GDF and Suriname Defense Force to patrol the Quarantine River.
Between the two nations. I specifically engaged the Surinamese National Army in discussions relating to trans-border crime, but how the military can work with the law enforcement agencies. So we discussed specifically joint operations in support of the police forces of the two nations and joint operations in the Quarantine River. The modality of those operations are still to be worked out, but essentially we'll have our resources in the river and they'll have their resources, and it will be crewed by law enforcement personnel. I think you're quite aware that the Defense Force supports the police, and the Defense Force, of course, also support the police. But they have a Surinamese Navy that can operate in the Quarantine River, and we'll have a Coast Guard, more than likely, operating with law enforcement agencies within the Quarantine River for joint operations.
The GA boss said that slippages have become a trend, and a countering anti-smuggling team is going to Suriname to assess where there are deficiencies.
I can just briefly tell you that goods in excess of 10 million US is being imported from Suriname, right here, and in excess of 5 million US of tax is collected on an annual basis. That has been the outcome of our endeavor since 2011. But in recent time, because of lapses on the part of both parties, I guess, I don't want to point fingers anywhere. Customs at our end, customs over there, there has been some slippages, and we observed that slippages becoming almost like a trend, going back to the days when we were not collecting as much revenues as we recently collected.
Reporting for Capital News, Royston Jakes.